So for this video, I'm doing World Conqueror 4 Conquest 1939 Inaccuracies. Let's go. So the first thing that I wrote down is that Thailand, aka Siam, technically at this time, is in the Axis and is at war with the Allies, even though Siam, or Thailand, was invaded by the Japanese in 1941 and then was made as a puppet state of Japan. Not in 1939, and independent. Second one, Mongolia and the Soviets are in the Allies, and not in their cool little faction called the Comintern of, hey, let's just starve, and are at war with the Axis. Even though technically they were out of the world wars until 1941 when Germans did Blitzkrieg. Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. I am calling for that oil. How about you? The third one is that the Belgian Congo is owned by both France and Britain, even though the Belgian Congo was owned by the Belgians at this time, and even after said war of World War II. The fourth is Italy for some reason owns French Djibouti and British Somalia, even though hence French and British. And this is 1939, and the war literally just started, even though Italy was just hanging on with the Axis until like 40 or 41 and basically did nothing. Then, India should probably be renamed to the British Raj because it would be more accurate to this time period. And India should either own British Burma or be completely owned by Britain. Then, probably the Netherlands should probably own the Dutch East Indies, even though technically it would just be called the Netherlands. Not the British. I don't know why the British own all of that, but okay. And Portugal should probably own East Timor. Timor. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with what I just said. Yemen should also probably stay neutral because the British only had Aden as a protectorate. So that's an inaccuracy. And also in this world, Luxembourg, for some reason, just doesn't exist, even though it did exist until 1941, when the Germans came and just capitulated them in a single day. One day. Because they had like 2 guys in like an artillery barrage or something. Yeah, like an artillery brigade or something. Yeah, like that. National Spain is for some reason in the Axis, even though National Spain just came out of a civil war, aka the Spanish Civil War, and it only had a little bit of leanings toward the Axis, even though technically there were some sort of fascism or whatever it's called, National Socialism, whatever. It only would sort of help the Axis, like, probably because they helped them in their civil war, so they'd somewhat help, in quotes. And for some reason in this game, even though Ireland does exist and was neutral during World War II, it's owned by the Brits, and I don't know why. They just are. And Italy just doesn't own Albania, even though they did. Even though World War II was September and they invaded in April. They really only had, quote-unquote, custody over Albania for like about maybe a couple months before World War II actually happened, and they were basically like, hey, Germany, I'm just not going to do anything, and then invaded Greece like maybe a couple years later, and then fail. Yay. The U.S. and the... Oh, great. Thanks, Huntington. Okay, back to what I was saying. The U.S. is for some reason the Allies and are at war with the Axis. The U.S. was... No, the U.S. was just, quote-unquote, neutral. Until late 1941 when the Japanese said, hey, I want this. Give it now. A.k.a. Declaration of War. And for some reason in World Conqueror 4, Yeah, that doesn't exist. Yeah, do you mean Paraguay doesn't exist? Because that's in this game. Even though it does exist. Like how annoying my cat is. And for some reason, Japanese-controlled territories in China should have World Conqueror 4 Conquest 1943 borders, except Hong Kong, then pre-Second Sino-Japanese War, aka 1936 to early 1937. And Poland should probably have 4 major cities, aka Danzig, because I don't want to speak that in Polish, and I'm still probably going to get told that I said it incorrectly. Warsaw, Lwów, or however you say it, and Krakow. I think I said that completely incorrectly, but I'm just gonna... USSR should also probably have a mechanic where they're neutral, but still attack Poland. But really won't make really any troops. You could still probably play as them, but you wouldn't be at war with anybody but maybe Poland. The Maginot Line is for some reason hundreds of miles off some places like the Belgian-French border. Belgium owns some of France for some reason, and the German-French borders are just disgusting. I don't want to talk about it. It's bad. Paper ASMR. The Benelux, aka the Low Countries, are at war with Germany in 1939, even though it started in 1940 to go around the Maginot Line. And it's definitely not 1939. And also, Afghanistan's for some reason owned by India, but it should be independent and a neutral country. And for some reason, Yugoslavia is at war in 1939, which should be in 41. Except they got 2 things. Actually, no, 1. I'm sorry, 1 thing correct. Latin America did things later. Really the only accurate thing. There's probably a couple others, but that's one of their sort of accurate things. And somehow their map proportions are extremely bad in some places. And if you look at Spain, and then you look at America, Spain's about the same size as Texas and a couple other neighboring states. Why?